Marshfield Conservation Commission. Have I got a second?
Second.
Susan,
Second, Susan. Roll call vote. Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Joe?
Joe Ring, yes.
Art?
Art Loggy, yes.
Rick?
Rick Carber, yes.
Craig?
Craig Hannafin, yes.
And myself, also a yes. It's unanimous, Bill.
600, correct? Okay.
Okay, so this is a live remote Zoom meeting, open to the public. And all votes will be by roll call, by name. Commissioners will identify themselves by name when they vote. First order of business, Bill, before we get started, could you read off the continuations, just for anybody present?
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Vice Chair. Hang on one sec. Bear with me, let me get to those pages. All right, so we had scheduled continuations, SC 422887 Brewster Road, Murphy. Will continue till the 18th. Dewey at South River Street, SC 422905 will continue till the 18th as well. 62 Marginal Road, Lawson Dock System, SC 422916 will continue to June 1st. 10 South Street Cutter, Elevate Single Family Home, SC 422915 will continue to 5/18. Planning Fields, 167 Planning Fields, Calcagny will continue till May 18th. And we have one withdrawal, which is coming up, but it's 13 Brewster Road, which is, bear with me, the number, I'm not, it's eluding me. It's way in the back. It is SC 422917. So we have those 5 continuations and the 1 withdrawal tonight, Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And just to reiterate your statement about Chairman Kilcoyne's resignation, we thank Jim for his efforts and wish him well in his future endeavors as Marshfield Town Selectman. Which leads us to first order of business is we have to reorganize the Conservation Commission to fill the post of chair. Originally, it was set up that vice chair would ascend to chair in succession. I am unable to make the time commitment that this job is evolved to require. So I'd like to open it up to the rest of the commission to nominate a new chair, and then we can take a vote on that. I open it to the commissioners for anybody that would like to nominate another person for chair.
Art Loggy, I would like to nominate Craig Hannafin.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none.
That's a good one.
Very
Very
good.
good. Do I hear a second?
Joe Ring will second.
Okay, second, Joe Ringbill.
I've got that. We got Art Laggy nominating Craig Hannafin. And we got
Okay, so vote for Craig Hannafin as chair. Roll call vote. Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Joe?
Joe Ring, yes.
Art?
Art Loggy, yes.
Rick?
Rick Carber, yes.
Craig?
No, that's a recuse.
Okay, well, and myself, I vote for Craig. So it's five
Oh,
yes and one recuse.
right. Perfect. Well done.
So I now turn over the Concom meeting to the new chair. Congratulations, Craig.
Congratulations, Craig.
Congratulations, Craig.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Congrats.
everyone. I will do my best to continue the kind of job Jim did. As Bill Grafton, Administrator Grafton noted earlier, Jim has moved on to the Select Board and has tendered his resignation from this commission. I owe him a very big thank you for the work he has done here for the past 6 years. And the town owes him a thank you too. I think he really has left me some big shoes to fill. So that being said, let me just state that as we are still under the governor's emergency orders, all meetings are continuing remotely. Our 3 continuance rules are in effect. Please mute until you wish to speak, and modified Roberts rules are in effect. So our first item tonight is the minutes of 4/6, 4/20, and 4/22.
I've got some news for you, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
I did receive comments on the 4/6 and on the 4/22, and no comments on the 4/20. The comments that came in from Susan Karen on 4/6 and Bert O'Donnell. I captured them both. Susan noticed that she was the hearing officer on page 4, and somehow we had assigned it to Craig. I think that, I got that one backwards. What have I done here? Yes, she was the hearing officer on the 4/20s, that is, on the 4/6s. I'm just gonna confirm that because I seem to have myself twisted in a knot here, Madam Chair, 1 second. Yeah, it was page 3 of 8 on April 6th. She was the chair, she was the hearing officer, and somehow we had the chair instead in there. So we corrected that. And then Bert picked up, sorry to go into these painful details, some comments about the Hatch Mills group's work. And I struck the offensive language, and I left only the herbicide prohibition. So that's taken care of. So those are now set and copied and ready to be approved as edited. Again, the 4/20s, there were no comments, so they would be good as written. The 4/22s, I'll be done in a second. I received comments from Susan Karen on page 3. She had asked that I give greater detail about the photographs that were presented regarding that project and the lawn area and the pool. So I did capture that. So this would be set up to go forward as edited. So you have 4/6 as edited, 4/20 as written, 4/22 as edited, and all has been captured.
Thank you. Can we do this as one vote, Bill?
Yes, but, oh, wait, tricky. You have 2 as edited, and you have 1 as written. I just recommend going through it rapidly and not doing it that way, just individually, because some are edited and some are not.
Okay, I move that we vote to approve the 4/6 minutes as edited. Could I have a second?
Second.
Susan,
Okay, Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and Craig Hannafin, yes.
6-0.
I move that we vote to accept the 4/20 minutes as written. Could I have a second?
Second, Joe.
Joe Ring,
Yes, I got him.
Commissioner Ring,
Aye, I vote yes. Didn't expect you were calling me. Thought it was a clarification.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes. And I move we vote to accept the 4/22 minutes as edited. Could I have a second?
Second, Art Loggy.
Rick Carberry,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Art Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Joe Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Susan Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
6-0. Just want to note something. One of your permanent projects is featured behind Joe Ring right now on Osprey stand. And he's got an airborne osprey, one of my favorite birds with a fish. You did good work there, sir.
Didn't take it long to move in.
There's an osprey on the platform in Norris, Bill.
Oh boy, am I ever happy. 2 years in a row, Joe, I got you beat.
Okay,
I've got pigeons down here in the South River, so I'm glad you're enjoying your exotic birds.
Rick.
moving on to business. B1, reorganization, we have completed.
Yep.
B2, policy and procedure guide review and ratification of sections 3, 4, and 7. Mr. Graff, do you have any comments?
I don't. I just wanted to advise that Bill Finn is here. He's been instrumental in both the 505 and the policy and procedure and shaping me. So long story short, if you have some questions, you can bring them to me or to Mr. Finn.
Mr. Finn, you were introduced at our last meeting, so all of your impressive credentials are on the record. Do you have comments about the ratification of sections 3, 4, and 7?
I believe that the commission should adopt 3, 4, and 7, sections 3, 4, and 7, with the understanding that the whole document needs a little bit of administrative activity, some editing, minor things that have no bearing on the policy or procedures, but they're more administrative in nature. Once that's accomplished, the document is fine.
I believe this is intended to be a living document, and we expect to revise it as we go.
That's correct.
I believe all the commissioners were provided with this document on Sunday. Does anyone have comments or questions or concerns? Everyone was able to review these sections?
Craig, I believe that Joe Ring sent in comments for Bill, but I don't know if they were addressed in this vision.
So they go right to what Mr. Finn said. They're administrative. We'll capture them at that point in time. He's
Okay.
talking about putting an extra space in between sentences and some other comments that he put in. We'll capture that later. But duly noted and appreciated.
Is that satisfactory to you, Joe?
Of course it is.
Okay. There being no other comments from commissioners, I would move that we vote to ratify the policy and procedure guides, sections 3, 4, and 7, to be edited. Could I have a second?
Second, Rick Carberry.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Okay. Okay.
With that, Madam Chairman, I am going to sign off for the evening. Thank you very much.
Do that, Bill. Wait, one quick thing. Some of these items should be posted on the website. An example would be section 5C, our fees. I don't know if the de minimis form should be on there or not, but some of them should be. So we would like to ask that the conservation staff, which would include Bill Finn as a part of this team and core team, to be able to manage the commission's business and post the appropriate forms on the website. An example would be the current checklist, the current certificate of compliance checklist. Is that satisfactory that they can be entrusted to do that?
I believe that that the commission, I think that the staff can decide. I don't think there's any problem as long as the commission would have a problem with recommendations that are regarding posting whatever you want to post on the website from the policy and procedure manual. I would not vote to automatically post everything in there? Because I don't think it's necessary.
I 100% agree with Mr. Finn. There are select items that are going to be beneficial to the public, and one of them will be the 505, 5C section, which is the fees. There's an example that should definitely be posted.
Right.
I'll confer with Mr. Flint and Mr. Finn on behalf of the commission, and if we have any questions, we'll bring it back under a business session. Is that satisfactory, commissioners?
Yes.
Yes.
No need for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Finn.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, we are on to enforcement order ratifications.
Yeah, I sent those out a little late to you, and I apologize. They're a standard issue. They're ready to go, and we'll have them polished for you for signatures tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. They'll go out Friday. And these were for the 2 off-site violations. We had one from October. I didn't know what to do with it, and they also needed some time to reorganize on South River. They won at 458. Some serendipitous activities have happened. Eric and I have met with Eversource, and they're cutting some trees, and they have committed to help out that problem area that was cut with some shrubs and lower lying like hollies and such. Meanwhile, we have the Weymouth and Perry situation over at Oak Street, which needs to be started. We're kind of desperately up against the end of this planting season and restoration period, so these two really need to get out quick. So I was thinking they'd go out Friday. I have the drafts, you can give me comments and I'd be happy to work them in. So they just needed to be approved and we can get them out the door.
Okay. I would just like to note that on 271 Oak, 257 Oak, during discovery, there will be an opportunity to assign responsibility between the two parties. So that will be determined going forward. So I would move to vote to direct the Conservation Administrator to prepare enforcement orders for 271, 257 Oak Street. Could I have a second?
Art Loggy, second.
Joe Ring,
Bill, yes.
Rick Carberry,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Art Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Susan Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Bert O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and Craig Hannafin. Yes.
And Madam Chair, who seconded that?
I did.
Art.
Thank you. Okay.
And next, I would vote to direct the Conservation Administrator to prepare enforcement orders for 458-505 South River Street. Could I have a second?
Second by Joe Ring.
Okay.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and Craig Hannafin, yes.
Okay, it's a 6-0, Madam Chair. We're rolling.
Bill, just one point of clarification. What were you speaking about Eversource? Is that another enforcement or is that part of one of these?
No, I spoke about it from serendipitous, Mr. Vice Chair. Eric and I were out talking to them about their routine cutting along the South River where we've had tremendous problems. And they've been good enough to meet with us twice. The second time, I happened to notice they were increasing cutting near this violation area. So we went out and had a little walk. And during that little walk, I talked them into putting in some shrubs and such, some low-lying things. A lot of briar in there, Mr. Vice Chair. Needs to be controlled by shade.
Okay. Understood. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, Eversource has no issues with us.
Okay, item business B4, Bluefish Cove Conservation Land, Salt Marsh and Road, installation of conservation do not disturb signage.
Right. So just a brief on this. There's been some ongoing complaints first to me in around 2017. And I began to hear people concerned about this and began speaking to DPW, and we talked about the idea of getting a solution. One of the commissioners is, a resident in the area, and basically made me more aware of what was going on. Over the last 18 months, we've had some significant problems in Bluefish Cove, and the former chair, Jim Kilcoyne, stepped in to join the effort along with Joe Ring in a meeting. And, we just started to work on the various issues down in Bluefish Cove, and we'll continue to do so. But one of the large items was posting these conservation markers. It's a little complicated, some private properties and some Concom lands. And so what we're asking to have happen here is there's 2 conservation properties. We'd like to put 4 conservation posts on either end of those properties to act as a guide for future road work that goes on by the DPW. I think the residents both appreciate and benefit from the delivery of the materials, but they also observe that it spills over and expands into the salt marsh, and they want a happy medium. So DPW is committed to put up a minimum of 11 markers and maybe more in the future. We just want to get this started. Once these are up, the DPW has also been instructed to stay 10 feet off the edge. So it'll get the point across pretty solidly.
Do any commissioners have comments?
No.
Then I would move that we vote to install red and white wetland do not disturb signage on town-owned conservation land parcels N05, 0504, and N05, 0604 Bluefish Cove. Could I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Earl O'Donnell, yes.
and Craig Hanafin, yes.
And 600. Going smooth. Okay. Very good, Madam Chair.
Okay, now we are on business number 5, subdivision progress reports, Adelaide and John Sherman Estates. Mr.
Right.
Grafton?
Yeah, I'll take these, Eric. So Adelaide subdivision, we've talked to Paul Driscoll, we've talked to the homeowners, and we've been in touch with Greg Morris. Greg Morris can't make it tonight. I believe Mr. Driscoll may be joining us. I'm sorry, I'm making a mistake. I went to subdivision, the wrong subdivision. Greg Gibbs is here for Adelaide. Recently, we had 2 submittals in front of the commission, one for lot 9, and one for lot 10 through 13. There was a conversation about lifting individual NOIs on lots 10 through 13. The commission debated on whether to require a bond or assign special conditions to the retaining wall lot 10 through 13. Mr. Gibbs opted for the special conditions. We signed off on lot, I forget which one, 12, I believe, I'm guessing right now. Then the retaining wall was held back because the special conditions hadn't been completely completed. Mr. Gibbs asked for relief on that. The chair polled, that being Jim Kilcoyne, the chair, polled commissioners, got a majority of the commission to agree that the mitigation plan, although it's a D1 special condition, he could have an additional 30 days. Additionally, we found a good solution working with the building commissioner to both help the building permit process as well as help the conservation process under D1 special conditions, which is the pre-commencement of work, so that both both could be concurrently working together. So the D1 special conditions will pick up some new language, which will allow this relief, but also ensure that the building commissioner is in position to marshal forward the D1 special conditions as necessary through his authority. So that was a good outcome of that. Mr. Gibbs had asked for temporary stoppage of the footpath activity. He's on tonight. I want to make sure that that is still going because we need to work on that. The mitigation plan relief is until June 1, 2021. That's going to be a plan prepared by a qualified wetland scientist. We need to get a little bit of an update about what's going on with the footpath. It was going along great, and then it just has to be moved slightly so we can get out there and set the posts. And then we just need a quick update about the wetland delineation. These require date certains. Other subdivision conditions are lingering, but these have been attached to retaining wall orders conditions D2 and D3, allowing Mr. Gibbs to move forward, but attaching to a second set of orders of conditions on top of the subdivision. So that's it in a nutshell. I think Mr. Gibbs is out there. Greg, are you there?
Yes, Bill, I am.
Okay, do you agree that your mitigation plan D1, you got the relief and that it's due June 1?
Yes.
Excellent. What can we tell us, the commission, about deliverable on the footpath? I know we were just kind of moving a few posts and so on, or markers. When will that be finished, you think?
It is finished on our end. We Stenbeck and Taylor had surveyed the property, made the markings for me, have moved the posts and moved the trail according to the to make sure we're outside the 75-foot.
Right. There was a new discovery. They felt that they were a little too close. They wanted to abide by the 75-foot setback under SE 422650. So that's ready to go then, Greg. So I could send a team out and start putting posts up. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Do we have your clearance to do that?
Yes.
Okay to proceed. All right. Duly noted. All right. And then the wetland delineation, how is Mr. Mark Cooperman doing on that?
The weather's been a bit of a challenge getting them out, but he is aware of it, and we're working towards getting that done as requested.
Okay, Mr. Commissioner Leahy, are there any special requirements you have with that? Do we have a deadline or anything? I mean, we really didn't, but we need to get this done. And it's been like 3.5 years, so I just kind of want to hear your position on it.
Well, I'm really happy the footpath is done. The wetland delineation is the last thing. Greg, what do you think is reasonable? Can you do this within a month?
I would assume so. I guess the only question that I have, it seems like that that part of the project we're not working out there. The wetlands were delineated. They just weren't verified because we knew we weren't going to be out there, and the line was going to expire. So the flags are there. We can set them again. I don't know that we'll be starting 14 anytime soon, and that's the only lot that's affected.
This thing's been going on so long, it would be good, Greg, if we could just wrap this up, just get that wetland line marked out, get it validated, and then we're done.
Okay.
Yeah, so
And Greg, all it is it's going back to that letter in 2017 from Bob Gray Sebacia. There's some missing flags. It might be 2, might be 50. I'm not really sure. Cooperman needs to get that done, and then I'll go review it. Eric and I don't go out and define lines. We review them. So we need a defined line so we can make this go away. And 2 months from now, we're not visiting it again. So.
Okay.
I think you get it. So,
how about June 1?
how about July 1, and then he gets to end
That's
of.
fine with me. I'd like a date though. I'd like to get it
Okay.
done.
All right,
July
so-
1.
So we're gonna
July
make it
1, if that's
Okay.
acceptable.
All right.
deadline is July 1. I'll give you extra 30 days. Okay,
Well,
Greg.
That's 2 months. So, okay.
It's
Yeah.
60 days. I think,
Okay, that's Adelaide.
very good. Thanks, Greg.
Thank
All
you.
right, John Sherman. So Art and I have been working with the commission and Paul Driscoll and Greg Morris. And this has been going on for a while. A lot of the lots are sold off. The most challenging lots are lot 9, 10, and 11. They're hovering around an isolated vegetative wetland under the bylaw. And the subdivision itself has had some issues with the streets being loaded with sediment, and it's a combination of things. One, no street care by the subdivision property owner, and sometimes there hasn't been erosion control and there hasn't been vegetation set on the property. So we have, like in Larkin's case, they've got a front yard that's got no grass on it, and so we continue to see dirt going down the street. Mr. Driscoll, Attorney Driscoll, did have the streets swept yesterday. Eric Flint and I went out and checked it out. It looked like there was sediment again, and I kicked some stuff around, and it looks like it's all fresh material that's been in there. So there's been a cleanup. I only checked one of the silt basins in the storm drains, and it had minimum sediment in there. So I think they probably need to, maybe another round of review by us and see where we stand. But at least he made the attempt and everything. And there's other issues that are of concern that I need to work with Greg Morris, finishing up the erosion control around the stormwater basins. We looked at the stormwater basin in the center of the cul-de-sac, and it was all murky because the sediment was in the water. So that stuff's going to get in there and choke the system. There's also other things that need to be completed. There's conservation restrictions that need to be put on the 2 open space properties. They're dual. They were under the natural heritage. The commission told me that they want that resolved. It's also under planning. Planning has a number of things. They're requiring water resource protection district signage on posts or fence, in addition to our signage. And we've got some issues going on at lot 9, 10, and 11, because like lot 9 never put any of them up. Now we have to get him to put them up. Lot 10 is about to get started, and his D1 special conditions before commencing the work are loaded with subdivision requirements, planting the plants, putting up the posts, water resource protection district and Concom. I mean, it just goes on. I feel bad for the guy. And then lot 11, he got started early, as we know. The commission was flexible with them. We didn't capture the water resource protection district signage. That's an issue. So I feel like we've got the subdivision, lot 9, lot 10, lot 11, and then the opposite side, there's some stuff that's going on there. We really need to just make these things end. And I think it's sort of going to require now cooperation, because I don't think your average property owner is going to be like really, quickly responding to subdivision order conditions that they may not know exist, but they're responsible for. So how do you tell them to put up their section of a fence and put conservation markers on it? It's a little challenging. So we need to have a solution there, and maybe it's best if we start coordinating with planning, because they have a 200.
Bill, I think that's the best point you've made. I mean, planning has the stick in this case. They're holding back a lot of money for this subdivision. And most of this is more to do with the subdivision than conservation. So I think they just need to move forward with it.
Well, I'm going to say this, that I agree with 90% of what you said, but we also have something. We have the order of conditions, which are recorded twice, once under the orders and once on the amended. So every single house in that subdivision, every single one automatically has 4 liens on it. And other properties like, say, Borchert, Larkin, and Orca, and the one across the street, I got a COC. Those 3 I just mentioned have another order of conditions on them. So Borchert's got 5, Larkin's got 5, and Orca's going to have 5. So we do have something there, and they're going to want to deal with us. So we better come up with a strategy because we haven't been making progress like I thought we would. I do appreciate the sweeping in the street, but some of these things are lingering, and I'm starting to think that the best way to deal with this is to coordinate with planning, because on the way out, we need an as-built that's satisfactory to Concom and planning to get this thing closed out. Now, I will say this, I struck last hearing and tabled the subdivision update, but we have very few, and I mean very few, subdivisions in town that have got cleared out orders of conditions and or ORADs, which are, you know, just the delineations. And if we don't get rid of them, then people have to come and get partials one by one. So we have an opportunity here to kill two birds with one stone, work, you know, to everybody's benefit, and lift all these liens.
So the resolution is 1, coordinate with planning.
Yeah, I think so.
Does anyone else have any ideas on this discussion?
Makes sense.
I think Mr. O'Rourke is going to want similar relief to what Greg Gibbs got at his subdivision. And we're going to have to figure that out because right now, you know, he's the only one who's kind of being held to do the plantings and the posts. So we've got to figure out a strategy because the way it's going, it's bouncing. It's been painful.
Okay, so Mr. Grafton, you will work with planning?
Yeah, Art and I are going to work with planning, I think, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
No, that would be great. And we'll continue to try to have a more creative solution to some of these loose ends.
I think it's important that the commission stay involved and informed and that we don't give up our orders of conditions that have been recorded and we get the job done. If we get another subdivision, and I think there is one coming next time, I'm going to strongly remind the commission that you have the right to add a bond, and town council has spoken to me about that. And it shouldn't just be planning having a bond. Conservation doesn't need to be chasing all these people around to make sure that we've got everything set up. Art and I and the commissioners have been working really hard on this one, and we've been flexible, I think.
Yeah, I think we should bring it up in a business session because I do think that's important.
Okay. All right, that's all I have to say on that.
Okay. Then we move on to business number 6, de minimis activity role. We have 4 de minimis activities here. You want to present them, Bill? Do you want me to read through them?
Eric, you can run them.
Eric?
And I'd vote for them individually, Madam Chair, because some of them special conditions and they need some messaging.
Okay. Go ahead, Eric.
Sure. So I'll try to be concise on these since the details have been sent out to the commissioners already. The first one we have is at 560 Spring Street. Mr. Verney, he would like to request a de minimis activity for tree limb pruning on trees on his property. He's been having branches fall on his roof, deck, and lawn, and he said there's been some damages. The messaging for this case is that we need to make sure it's clear what can and cannot be cut. We're talking about branches only, not saplings or woody shrubs or herbaceous plant species. And in the special conditions, we'd like to limit the branch pruning to branches overhanging the house or driveway on trees no further than 20 feet from the house. No native trees, saplings, woody shrubs, or herbaceous plant species are to be removed. And that's it.
All right. I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for pruning of hazardous branches at 560 Spring Street with special conditions. Could I have a second?
Second, Joe Ring.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hanafin, yes.
Okay, next we have 1001 Ocean Street, Mrs. Fortier. She reached out to the Conservation Commission after her arborist advised her to get a tree removed. It was a single hazard tree. She is on a AE flood zone only, which has no performance standards, and there are no special conditions.
I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for removal of a single hazard tree at 1001 Ocean Street. Could I have a second?
Art Loggy, second.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes, second.
Commissioner
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hanafin, yes.
All right, next up we have at 26 Little's Lane from Mr. Minchello, who lives at 49 Little's Lane. There's an easement on the property on 26 Little's Lane for the purpose of access to the North River. There is a section of this easement that Mr. Minchello would like to clear, and we're talking about clearing brush in the 190 to 300 foot zone away from the river. This does not fall within the 100 foot buffer zone of the wetland. And so this really only falls under 10 feet of riverfront and then the 200 to 300 under the aesthetics for the North River. We would condition this with requiring Mr. Minchello to seek approval from the homeowner at 26 Little's Lane, as well as approval from the North River Commission.
I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity with special conditions. Could I have a second, please?
Second, Rick Carberry.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Lage,
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hanafin, yes.
Okay, and then last up, we have 1184 Ferry Street.
Yeah, excuse me, Eric. Rick Carberry needs to recuse on this one.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah.
So this is for an
Wait, wait, wait.
existing order of conditions. Mr. Bathanis is requesting that a change to this plan be considered de minimis. This is in reference to order of conditions SE 422684. An additional staircase was added to the original plan in order to comply with building department requirements for 2 ways of egress. This is already built and is depicted on the as-built that was shared with the commissioners. You would also like to add a 10 by 20 rear deck. This would not have any impact on the ground as it will be attached to cantilever beams with a 45-degree angled wood pier. The cantilever beams are already on site and the deck is somewhat framed. And Mr. Bathanis has also showed additional initiative to meet the D2 special conditions in his original order, requiring him to ensure the back of the property remains vegetated by having Brad Holmes from ECR create a new planting plan for him. So special additions apply, including there shall be no new structures constructed on the subject site without written approval from the commission, implement the new planting plan and previously approved planting plan under the order's conditions during the spring 2021 planting season, and provide the implementation plan by June 30th, followed by 2 years of annual monitoring, reports due on December 1st, 2022 and December 1st, 2023.
Thank you. I move that we vote to ratify the additional staircase and rear cantilever deck as de minimis change to existing orders of conditions SE 422684 with special conditions. Could I have a second, please? I'm sorry, yes, could I have a second?
Joe Ring,
Second.
second.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry.
Recused.
I'm sorry,
That's okay.
Commissioner Lage,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes. Well, one caveat that Is the building, has the building department been informed of these changes, Eric? Are they, do we know that?
Not to my knowledge. I'm not sure of that.
Okay, I
We don't-
think we just need to make sure they're on board with it.
What we can do is, we can add a special condition.
Yeah, that'll work, Bill.
Okay, so.
The subject to building, because both as far as building codes and setbacks.
What do we
need to
say,
Make sure this,
like we do, and then we're covered, okay? And all subsequent permits, and that'll cover the building department, okay? We prefer to do that because sometimes there's unknowns that we don't know about. And subject to all subsequent permits.
Okay, I'm going to start this vote again since we've added a condition. I move that we vote to ratify the additional staircase and rear cantilever deck as de minimis change to existing orders of conditions SE 42, 2684 with special conditions. Could I have a second, please?
Art Loggy, second.
Thank you. Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and Craig Hanafin, yes.
Okay, so that was 500. Rick, are you back? Rick? Hey, Rick, he's back. Rick is back. PC is back. Returns to the meeting. Okay.
Okay, it is 7:15. We have completed the business.
Wow. Madam Chair, you're on fire. Good, keep it up.
Now we move, should we do the continuations here, Bill?
Well, I always like to, but Jim, what is his way? I would recommend a linear path. It's just easier to do.
Linear being
Right now. I would
doing
do
the
that.
additions now.
Yeah, right.
Okay. We have scheduled continuations for 5 as part of the posted agenda. Brewster Road, SE 42 2887, continued to 5/18/21. Move to vote to continue to 5/18 as per the written request of the applicant's representative. Could I have a second?
Second, Bert O'Donnell?
Bert O'Donnell, duly noted.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Lage,
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hanafin, yes.
Okay, you're 600. All right, Mr. Creed was present, so he heard that. Okay,
South River Street, SE 42 2905, vote to continue to 5/18/2021 as per the written request of the applicant's representative. Could I have a second?
Second, Bert O'Donnell?
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Lage,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hanafin, yes.
okay. 600, Madam Chair.
62 Marginal Road, SE 42 2916. Vote to continue to 6/1/2021 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. Could I have a second, please?
Second, Bert O'Donnell?
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Lage,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hanafin, yes.
Okay, real quick caveat there, Madam Chair. We had the site walk today, so we went out and we got that done. So that's been completed. So we should have everything we need for the 6/1 meeting.
Excellent. 10 South Street, SE 422915. Vote to continue to 5/18/2021 public meeting as per the applicant's representative's written request. Could I have a second?
Second, Bert O'Donnell?
Commissioner Lage,
Arlogi, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes. And finally, 167 Planting Fields, SE 422920. Vote to continue to 5/18/2021 public meeting as per the applicant's representative's written request. Could I have a second?
Second, Bert O'Donnell?
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Lage,
Arlogi, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Great, 6-0.
All right, now we move to the public hearing portion of the meeting.
We're back.
Beginning with 315 Oak Street. I need to read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom to consider the after-the-fact request for determination of applicability filed by Ray Milkowski, 315 Oak Street, Marshfield, Massachusetts. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
Okay, so for 315 Oak Street, the applicant is Mr. Ray Milkowski. And this after-the-fact RDA is for some cutting and vegetative management in an area within 100 foot of a buffer zone to the BVW. It was a new homeowner who wasn't aware of the regulations or the presence of wetlands within the property. Do we have the taxes and fees? Are we all set on that, Eric?
Yeah, taxes confirmed on April 27th.
Okay, great. I see John Zimmer's on the call. John, are you representing?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. For the record, John Zimmer is South River Environmental on behalf of the Milkowskis. Ray is on with us tonight as well. As Madam Hearing Officer said, this was basically an oops, for lack of a better term. The Milkowskis recently moved into the residence at 315 Oak Street and have a new baby, and their Mr. Milkowski's in-laws thought it would be a nice idea to hire a landscape company to come in and clean up the property for them, since they're otherwise occupied with the new baby. So the landscape company came in, obviously they were unaware of the presence of wetland resource areas and the need to file at least an RDA to cover the activities that were done. So Bill and Eric met with Mr. Milkowski, kind of walked him through what should have been the process. He contacted me and I went out and delineated the resource areas. There is a wetlands off property to the west. There's another wetland across Oak Street as well, and then one further on the school property. So I delineated those and then developed a site plan, which includes some conservation markers, either at the property boundary or the 25-foot buffer, whichever is further inward to the property. There was no actual clearing done within the 25. It occurred, basically from the 75 to 100. There was some cleanup activity that was done within the 25, but no vegetation was removed. So the plan moving forward is to get the conservation markers installed, allow that area to kind of revegetate now that it's cleared out. And the other main thing was education. So now Mr. Milkowski knows that he's got wetland resource areas within the property, and down the line, if he looks to do anything within the property, to come back to the commission and request approval for it. The other thing that he was looking to do was to reestablish some lawn to the north of the existing driveway, which has historically been lawn. No expansion of the lawn area into areas that are currently naturally vegetated.
Eric, do you have any, the conservation agent, Eric Flint, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, sure. So as John mentioned, this was something that Bill and I checked out back on March 26th when we were doing a site visit to a neighboring property. We met with Mr. Milkowski and explained the rules about cutting within buffer zones and the RDA process. The RDA was subsequently filed, and I returned to the site with Commissioner Karen on April 28th, reviewed the wetland flags and site and found no issues. We also spoke with the homeowner, Mr. Milkowski, while we were there. We noted that there was no additional cutting past what myself and Bill Grafton had initially observed. Mr. Milkowski was very cooperative throughout the process, and also, as John was mentioning, clearly showed that he had been educated on the topic as he had been conversing with Commissioner Karen and myself about what he would need to do any additional work on that land in the future. So I think this one's relatively straightforward.
Do we have any commissioner comments or concerns?
No.
I concur with, I'm sorry, did you have something, Rick?
No.
Okay. I concur with all the comments made. I have no problem with this restoration and this plan. So, actually not restoration, but the plan as presented by John. So, and the markers as well. Seeing that, do we have any comments from the public on this? No? Okay. Well, with that, I would like to make a motion to issue a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a -3 with special conditions, which Eric, could you be kind enough to read?
Yeah, so ensure best management practices are followed before commencing the work, obtain subsequent permits, including Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals and building permits. See conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities and the installation of 4 conservation markers as depicted on the RDA aerial site plan prepared by South River Environmental dated April 20th, 2020.
Madam Hearing Officer, one quick question. Do you want a deadline for when those markers go up, or are you just going to let that be in perpetuity at their whim?
Well, I suppose we should have a deadline for that. Eric, do you have any, which maybe 30 days? Does that make sense?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason that we can't put it up in 30 days. The trees
Right.
came one, you know?
Right. Gives him time to get that done. I know they're very busy at the moment, so, okay. So could I have a roll call vote, please? And Vice Chair Bert O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Joe Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Rick Carberry.
Rick Carberry, yes. Susan, I think you need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Could I have a second, please? We'll start that over.
Second, Rick Carberry.
Rick Carberry, thank you. Vice Chair Bert O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Joe Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Rick Carberry,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Art Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Chairwoman Craig Hannafin,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
and Susan Karen, yes. Okay. We're all set.
600, Madam Hearing Officer.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Good. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Next up, we have 895 South River Street, and I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom to consider the after-the-fact request for determination of applicability filed by Frank Kelly, 895 South River Street, Marshfield, Massachusetts. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Carberry.
Okay, thank you, Craig. All right, so this is similar to the last hearing. This is an after-the-fact RDA. Can one of the administrators confirm that taxes and fees are paid for this RDA, please?
Yep, taxes were confirmed on April 27th.
Okay, good. Is there somebody here from South River Environmental to present the project? Is that you, John?
It is.
Lucky us. Go ahead and summarize the project, John.
Great, thank you. Again, for the record, John Zimmer with South River Environmental. Rick Casey is on the line as well, both representing Mr. Kelly, who is fairly elderly, so he was not able to be on this evening. The project, which was started, was intended to alleviate some of the drainage issues that are coming down Cohasset Ave and then down the residence driveway, which is a gravel driveway. And Mr. Casey was helping out Mr. Kelly to help some of the water issues within the property, and started to construct a small trench along the edge of the existing driveway down, and to kind of divert the water down and around the driveway and tie into an existing pipe that extends out past the house and discharges further within the property. In doing so, he also took down some small trees, probably nothing bigger than 4 or 5 inch diameter, that were right along the edge of the driveway. This is another case of not understanding the jurisdiction and the resource areas and what needs to be done for this type of work. So again, Bill and Eric were able to talk to Mr. Casey and Mr. Kelly and describe what needed to be done. They got in touch with me. I delineated a small area of wetland directly adjacent off the back side of the driveway. And then in the RDA, they stopped work, as soon as Bill and Eric spoke with them. So they'd like to finish up that small drainage trench, which would have a perforated pipe and a gravel base to divert the water from the driveway around the parking area. And then we would also install a couple of conservation markers and put in some sweet pepper bush and high bush blueberry to compensate for the plants that were cut along the edge of the driveway. So I think that would one, mitigate for what was cut, and then also hopefully help the water issue, which is obviously part of a bigger drainage issue that's in that whole area. But we're kind of focused on this one property right now. I think there needs to be a more of a systemic solution to the whole drainage down Cohasset Ave. But I guess that's a story for another day. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. No, that sounds accurate. Thank you, John. I was out there yesterday, and albeit almost getting killed trying to pull out on South River Street from that driveway, it all looked as you described. So administrators, Eric, Bill, any comments on this one?
Yeah, so like John said, Bill and I checked this one out back in April, on April 12th, when we responded to a complaint of cutting from a neighbor. Bill mentioned that the work should stop, and again explained the process with wetland protection and work within buffer zones. Everyone there, Mr. Kelly, as well as Mr. Casey, was very cooperative and worked with us to file the RDA in the weeks thereafter. And I went back to the site on April 28th, reviewed the wetland flags and found no issues. On the site conditions, it was exactly as when Bill Grafton and I had left. The vegetation that was cut was still piled there. The pipes were still uninstalled and piled on the side. So there was full compliance with Bill Grafton's request on the day that we initially went out there. When I was there, I spoke with Mr. Kelly's caregiver, who expressed her concerns regarding the drainage on the driveway and the impact that storms have and the water that flows down there. So she was basically just stressing the need for this drainage pipe to be installed. And overall, I think the mitigation proposed here is pretty good. We're talking about conservation markers and additional planting, so I think that mitigates for the action that took place back in April.
Okay, good. Thank you, Eric. I don't have any comments or questions further on this project. Any comments or questions from other commissioners?
I have one question, Rick. I did not make it out to this site. Was all this work within the existing driveway?
It's in the buffer zone. Certainly in the buffer zone.
Is it within the existing driveway?
No,
Okay.
it was willows and it was small saplings. yellow birch. This was part of the backstop to 70 Cohasset, which had a septic filing with the commission. That property's loaded with wetlands. So
Okay, well, it was described as overhanging the driveway. That's why I asked the question, Bill.
Well, no problems. Just to clarify for the vice chair, so these guys were trying to do a good deed. They took down a bunch of saplings and willows, and they pushed back the plants. They would have been in the buffer zone, and it clearly was not the driveway because it was bermed up, and the driveway sort of fades into a grassed area in the back.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Rick Casey. Am I able to speak here?
Yes, go ahead, Rick.
Yep.
Yeah. There are two issues that aren't being spoken of. One is the trimming of trees that Bill has seen that are into the house of Frank Kelly, and you were comfortable with us trimming those limbs. One is a limb and one is a small sapling, which is up against the house, which is not in a wetlands area. But we did not want to continue doing anything until this meeting had occurred, and there was no discussion of that one issue. And the second thing that I wanted to raise is the volume of water that's coming down onto this property. I've done a little bit of construction. The town would never have given a building permit to build this property today. He has bamboo growing right up against his house. He's got deep erosion that's rutting out the side of his property, coming from the town maintained street, and a pipe that, from all I can tell, has never been recorded by the town, connecting an upper wetlands to a lower wetlands. This volume of water, which is surface water, not groundwater, is undermining a retaining wall on the property and has wiped out a post fence. He has a serious problem here because, in my opinion, he doesn't have a saleable property. He's not looking to sell his property, but somehow the bigger issue is, how are we going to resolve this volume of water that's coming down?
Mr. Casey, really great statements. I don't think you're an appraiser, neither am I, so we don't know what's saleable or not, but duly noted on the water. I'd like to paraphrase quickly for the hearing officer, if that's okay, Mr. Hearing Officer.
Go ahead, Bill.
The trees talking about, I believe, is a cherry john in the back. So if you were to walk up that deck in the back and look over, I gave them some ideas about how they could trim it back and not wipe the tree out. There's a pipe going in the back there, running off the back, close to that cherry tree. I said, don't cut the whole tree, but take certain strategic branches to get it off the property, because I do agree with that. I don't think that's a problem, Mr. Hearing Officer. I believe it's outside the 100, but I'm not looking at the map right now. Eric, can you tell it all? You know where that tree was because you saw it. I'm going to move on to the next point. You need to just give me an idea if it's inside the 100 or not. As far as the water goes, this is a particularly difficult area. It's fed from the top by all kinds of changes going on, and there are multiple wetlands. The town does not maintain the road. That's why a lot of the properties going forward, when they have projects, one of the mitigations is to do street improvement. Recently, 90 Cohasset had street improvement tied in. Town council, when the new owner asked to be relieved of the road improvement, gave the commission two options: either give them a COC partial for the house and let the road improvement stay on the books, or give them a complete COC. The commission gave complete COC. So the road is really not maintained by the town. It's kind of spotty how they come and they maintain it periodically. So when you don't have a paved road, typically you don't have, and you don't have water drains in there, you don't have a town maintained road. So I know that the engineering is looking at potential issues over at 907 South River. Everybody seems to be having problems in general. So giving some relief to this that's not going to cause secondary relief to somebody else could be considered a good thing, because everybody seems to be left to fend for themselves out there.
So just on that tree, from what it looks like on the site map, I would say that it's either just within the 100 or just outside of the 100. But I would note that these are approximated buffer lines on this map.
Yeah, all right. And so, commissioners, two things. We'd be coming back to you for de minimis on this another day, and you'd be voting on it. And I think you'd probably allow this. If we could be a good sounding board to you, that's that. We allowed 1,700 square feet on a commercial lot, within the 90 to 100 to be cleared under de minimis. So this is the comparison. I think this is something with your discretion or authority to allow to happen on item number 1. And item number 2, they're trying to do something in there to alleviate the situation without causing secondary problems on the volume of water.
Right, and
John, do you want to make a point, John?
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I did have the trimming of the trees adjacent or overhanging the house included in the narrative of the RDA. I just neglected to mention it during my presentation.
Okay.
Oh, come on, John.
I know. Sorry, Bill.
Man,
Usually much more complete than this.
Rick, we can't have this, can we?
So if I could make one last comment,
All
will
right.
anybody address the pipe that's under the road that the town did not install? There is a,
I'm going to have to direct you to town engineering on that, Mr. Casey, okay?
Okay.
And they can help you on that. If you contact me, I'll put you in touch. Again, they're looking at 907, South River right now. So, might as well be involved as well with them. So they're looking at this area right now, and they can look at the other one with you as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess not to be prescriptive, at the risk of being prescriptive, Rick, if there's a stormwater analysis and plan that the homeowner puts forward or something that the town puts forward, that'll have to come back before the commission to be reviewed again. So, I would advise you of that, but that is a tough area over there,
Sure.
I can just imagine in a good rainstorm, there's you probably have fish trying to swim up that driveway.
You could run a kayak down it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners before we go to the public? No? Okay. Any other comments from the public?
If I could make one last comment, you cannot take a right coming out of his driveway because neighbors are reclaiming land across the street. And this man has ambulances coming. He's on a heart. He has a pacemaker. He's just getting over cancer. He had a broken back. He suffers with severe rheumatoid arthritis. I could go on and on. But the reality is, because of the washout coming down the driveway and because of a neighbor across the street reclaiming land that is a part of the street, you absolutely cannot come out of the driveway and take a right without backing up. An ambulance has troubles coming down to pick this man up.
Yeah. I had trouble myself yesterday, so I know exactly what you're referring to.
Okay.
It's a tough spot, and unfortunate for this poor elderly man at this point. So,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you for making those points. So at this point, I think I make a motion to close the hearing and find a positive number 5 bylaw and a negative number 3 with special conditions. Bill or Eric, do you want to go through the special conditions?
Sure. So we have ensure best management practices are followed before commencing work, obtain subsequent permits, including Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals and building permits. C, conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities. Install 2 conservation markers as depicted on the RDA aerial site plan prepared by South River Environmental dated April 20th, 2021. Obtain and follow planting mitigation plan and suggestions from South River Environmental regarding the planting of the 5 high bush blueberry and 5 sweet pepper plants.
Okay, great. Thank you, Eric. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Can I have a second, please?
Art Loggy, second.
Second by Art. Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Art,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Joe,
Joe Ring, yes.
Chairman Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Using Karen, yes.
Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and lastly, Rick Carberry, also a yes. So we have a 6-0.
Unanimous, very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now on to 100 Central Street. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. To consider the request for determination of applicability filed by the Town of Marshfield Harbor Master at 100 Central Street. And this is Commissioner Karen.
Thank you, Chairman. This is an RDA at 100 Central Street, which is the Harbor Master office, actually, and it is for some test borings, exploratory borings in the Green Harbor water and some surrounding land. These are, this is planning in preparation for a larger project that will take place later. As far as fees and taxes, Eric, I believe they're exempt. Would that be true for town-owned land?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so we're all set. So is there anyone here to present? Is this Mr. Magalhaes?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly.
No, you pronounced it pretty well. For the record, Tim Magalhaes with Foth Infrastructure and Environment, representing Mike D'Amato, Town of Marshfield Harbor Master. We are proposing 2 land borings with 5 overwater borings, and 3 of those will be optional water borings. For each boring, we'll have 10-foot rock cores. The test boring should not have a significant or cumulative impact on the resource areas, and we will utilize auger drilled casing. And this method does not use water for drilling the casing, which will limit the amount of water runoff from the borehole. If the material is not conducive to the augers, we'll be required to drive and wash. In this case, we'll use a mud tab, recirculation tub, to collect and recycle the water. In addition, for all the rock coring, we will utilize a mud tub to collect and recycle the wash water. Lastly, we will also utilize a filter sock silt barrier as needed for best management practices.
Mr. Conservation Agent Flint, you spent some time on this. Would you like to make any comments?
Sure. I don't have too much for this one. I visited the site with Commissioner Karen on April 26th, reviewed the site plan and proposed work. Everything seemed to be fine. As stated by Foth Engineering, the test borings would not have a significant or cumulative adverse impact on the resource areas and are shown as a quite temporary impact on the area. Also, each of these seem to have an impact of less than 1 square foot, so we're talking about a pretty small amount of actual space being altered here. In terms of regulatory points, I would note that Mass 310 CMR 10.02 2B2G specifically lists exploratory borings as a minor activity exempted from WPA regulation. However, this would only be for work in a buffer zone while the work here is within a resource area. But with that said, I think that the performance standards for the various resource areas referenced in this project are met, and that there's really not a substantial impact posed by this project. And also just to add on that this is part of a larger project for the dock pier parking improvement that will come as a full NOI in the months to come. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said that was probably going to come in August or something around there.
Yeah, we're still working on that with the Harbor Master as to schedule. Still have to work through these borings before we get to 30% design, which would then lead to notice of intent.
Well, you're going to be because you're working for Mike.
Yeah.
Heard that, Bill.
But that's all for me, Commissioner.
All right, thank you, Eric. Do we have any comments or questions from the commission?
Yeah, how long will the work take, and when is it going to be done? And is it disruptive to what's going on in the harbor?
No, it shouldn't be disrupting much going on there. We're going to be as close to the ramps, so we're going to be limiting any impact to that channel. So it should happen within the coming months, dependent on this, and it should only last about a week of activities.
Okay, good, thank you.
Is there anyone from the public? Any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, what I would like to do is then have motion to have a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and negative number 3 with special conditions, which I'll ask Eric to read.
Sure. So we have ensure best management practices are followed before commencing the work. Obtain all subsequent permits, including Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals and building permits. See conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities, and inform the conservation administrator or agent 2 weeks in advance of the test boring so that the conservation department can be prepared for public inquiry.
Thank you.
Could I have a second for that, please?
Second, Rick Carberry.
Thank you, Rick. Commissioner Rick Carberry.
Rick Carberry, yes.
Vice Chair Bert O'Donnell.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Joe Ring.
Ring, yes.
Commissioner Art Loggy.
Art Loggy, yes.
And Chairman Craig Hannafin.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
And Susan Karen, yes. Thank you. That's 600.
Okay, now we are on to our final RDA of the evening. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Duxbury Construction, LLC, for the property at 99 Webster Street in Marshfield, Mass. And the hearing officer is Susan.
So this is an RDA for the installation of a new septic system within the buffer zone to the BBW. Eric, can you confirm taxes and fees that were all set?
Yep, taxes were confirmed on April 27th.
Okay, great. Now, is there anyone here to present? I believe I see Mr. Boynton on the call to present the project.
Yes, good evening. I'm Freeman Boynton from Duxbury Construction, representing Barry Collins and Jennifer Lehner at 99 Webster Street. We're proposing to upgrade an existing cesspool system on site and bring it into compliance with Title V. We had Brad Holmes from ECR do a wetlands delineation on the property and perform necessary perk testing with the Board of Health. We have designed a conventional gravity flow septic system and are maintaining as much setback as we possibly can with a leaching facility, but would like to put the tank a little bit closer just to minimize the run between the house and the tank. The property is quite elevated above the wetlands, and we think this will be a huge improvement with the property, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Agent Eric, do you, Mr. Flint, have any comments about this or?
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty straightforward septic project. I visited the site with Commissioner Karen on April 26th, reviewed the wetland delineation and found no issues. I think it's a relatively straightforward plan. The location of the new septic is for the most part outside of the 100. The work inside the buffer zone is mostly emptying and filling of the old septic. We did note that there was appeared to be green waste dumping going on to the rear of the property into the wetlands over a kind of sharp hill that kind of borders the rear side of the property. There were some stacked up branches in there and also some hay bales piled up. And just an additional note on this property in general, we noticed that the home was purchased in 2014. And around that time, there's appeared to be substantial tree cutting based on what we could see from historical aerials of the site. So I think on this one, the septic part is very straightforward and clean cut. I think that the messaging is important to the homeowner on this, that the dumping of green waste into the wetland in the back of the property should stop. I would think the commission might want to take this opportunity to implement maybe 4 conservation markers at the rear of the property to encourage that this practice stops. And then just also as an additional note, this property has inquired about doing work with conservation in the past. So that would be my suggestion on this.
I concur with that, Madam Hearing Officer and Conservation Agent Flint. There's interest in moving some of the structure closer. So take advantage of this opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Bill and Eric. I concur that it seemed like because we don't know when there was definitely evidence of some dumping in that area. We don't know how long ago that was. It seemed some of it had been there for a while. So it seemed like a good opportunity, sort of along the upgradient part of that wetland, the topography would sort of make it easy to determine where some conservation markers could go, just to prevent and to remind people that that's not an area that can be dumped in the future. So I was wondering if it would be possible for Mr. Boynton to perhaps meet with Eric in the field and try to determine where those markers would be. And then we would need the site plan to indicate exactly where those are, so that we'll have that on record, the conservation marker locations. And we would need to have that in the office of the marked up site plan by Friday. Is that correct, Bill?
Yeah, typically, Mr. Boynton, we require these turnarounds by Friday. Otherwise, they get continuations. We don't like to continue anything in general. So do you have time available maybe to meet with Eric and get the markers figured out field-wise, and then get them on a site plan and digitize them over to us?
Certainly, we can arrange to do that. Be more than happy
Great.
to.
Eric's off on Friday, so that's going to squeeze it to Wednesday or Thursday. Can somebody from your staff accommodate that, you think?
I have a raincoat. I could meet him there tomorrow afternoon if he likes.
Eric has a raincoat too. What a coincidence.
It's still wet from today, though.
Yeah, that was awful. Man, that was tough.
Mr. Boynton, I can reach out to you in the morning and we can nail down a precise time to go check this out.
That would be great.
Yeah, we'd like to turn these, we'd like to turn this determination of applicability around quickly for you, so you can get
Okay.
rolling after all this does meet the standards of State Exemption 310 CMR 10.033 for Title V. Okay?
Okey
Do you have
doke.
any comments or questions from the rest of the commission? No problem. Okay. Anybody from the public present that has a question or comment? Okay, seeing none, what I would like to do then is make a motion to issue a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw, a -2, a -5 for the state exemption 310 CMR 10.02 2B, and a -3 with special conditions that I'll ask Eric to read, please.
Just on the exemption, I think we would be setting 310 CMR 10.033 for septic.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Change
Thank
that.
you, Eric.
Thanks for
Thank
picking up on that.
thank you.
So the special conditions would be ensure best management practices and building codes are followed before commencing all work. Obtain subsequent permits, including Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals and building permits. See conservation agent or administrator for guidance on conservation permits with work beyond the approved work activities. And then the installation of 4 conservation markers up gradient at the rear of the property with the exact locations to be agreed upon with the conservation administrator or agent.
Right, with submittal of the site plan by 12 noon, Friday, the 7th. Okay?
Thank you. Could I have a second, please?
Joe Ring, second.
Thank you. Commissioner Joe Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Art Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Rick Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Vice Chair Bert O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and Chairwoman Craig Hannafin,
Greg Hennepin, yes.
and Susan Karen, yes. 600.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Always a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to have- Thank you for your professionalism.
Okay. Now we have new NOI. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. A public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. To consider the notice of intent filed by Jean McDonough Rooney, 8 Foster Avenue in Marshfield, Mass. And do we have someone here to present?
Yes, we do. This is Rick Savant with Stenbeck and Taylor will be presenting tonight.
Hello.
Mr. Hunt, could I ask you to pause for a second, Madam Chair?
Abutters, taxes.
Absolutely. One moment, Madam Chair. Taxes were paid on 4/27/21. Abutters were confirmed on 4/27/21. The file number came in on 5/4/2021. The fees were paid on 4/20/21, and it was published on 4/28/21. You're all set, Madam Hearing Officer Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Grafton. Okay, Rick, please go ahead.
Okay, so we are at number 8 Foster Ave, which is on the southeasterly end of Foster Ave up on the bluff. We have a coastal bank that is at the top of a riprap wall that's there. Basically, the project is the expansion. The homeowner would like to expand their parking. They have a very tight parking situation in the driveway that's currently there. They're proposing to do some expansion of that and some walkway reconstruction. As you can see, we are out of the flood zone, but there is a small portion of the project that is within 100 feet of the bank. That small portion of walk, it's about 13 square feet roughly, which would be a conversion of an existing brick walk to a pervious paver system. You can see on the plan, we have included a kind of a typical detail of a pervious paver setup with a sand base and so forth. That's really the only work that's within the 100 feet. We thought it would be best to just come through and permit the project as a whole. They are paving that, using pervious pavers on that larger portion of the driveway shown in red on the plan. Basically, that's what they're hoping to do, is reconstruct the brick walk that's there, eliminate portion of it, and then place pavers for expansion of that parking area in the front there. I'll answer any questions you might have.
So, Rick, all of the paver parking and the paver walk will be pervious, correct?
That is correct. All the proposed pavers are going to be pervious. That is correct.
Thank you. Mr. Grafton, do you have any comments?
No, I was really tight quarters. I went to visit this site with Commissioner Ring and his new Osprey, and we couldn't get out of the car. So tight. Anyways, I don't really have any issues here. It's a very small amount of overlap within the 100-foot buffer. So I applaud Rick for bringing this forward. There will be grade changes. You're probably going to be dropping from 25 down to 22 feet in order to scoop out the drived area. But the front part of the property with the revetment wall is at around 27, 26. So they're in an ex-flood zone. I don't anticipate this will have significant or cumulative adverse effects on the buffer zone to the coastal bank and just land in general. So I think you're okay on this project.
Do any commissioners have any comments?
Just a general comment. Could this have come through as an RDA bill?
Could this have come through as an RDA? Yeah, maybe, possibly, yeah.
Okay, well, we're here and we're done, so.
Well,
Yeah, Rick, and the new permeous paver drive is going over an existing walk and some plantings and some lawn, right?
That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I see that on the plan here.
Does anyone else have a comment on the commission?
No.
Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to speak?
Madam Hearing Officer, I just was reflecting on the Commission Vice Chair's comments because it caught me off guard, as he does sometimes. There's probably a huge amount of volume being taken out of that. Although it's small, I think the NOI is probably still appropriate, but the commission has discretionary authority. Hey, Rick, about what kind of volume think it's being scooped out for the driveway at Ballpark.
Boy, I don't want to shoot from the hip on that, Bill. You're right about your areas. It is going down about 1.5 foot average.
Okay.
The material will be removed from the site just to level it off. But I wouldn't want to guess at a yardage volume there.
It's pretty good size though, I would say.
Yeah.
Substantial enough to merit.
Yeah, we just
so
felt it best. Yeah, to do the NOI just in case,
Yeah.
you know, it didn't meet the threshold or went over the threshold of the RDA. We just thought it would be safer to come in with this full application.
Your client doesn't have to worry. Our team is very proactive about turning these things around. As long as they follow the rules, this thing could be done in 90 days or less, whole nuts to bolts. So not a worry.
All right, then I would vote to close and issue orders of conditions with special conditions. Could I have a second?
Second. That was Susan Karen, second.
Thank you, Susan. Do you want to read the conditions in, Bill?
Yeah, I'll make it speedy. These are pretty standard. Register both sets of orders. Before commencing the work, register both sets of orders with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds and post the Mass DEP sign. Follow all pertinent Marshfield bylaws. Obtain all subsequent permits. Ensure erosion controls in place. Do not use hay. Rick, I don't know if you've actually had that or not. I can strike that if you don't have it. Do you not have? I can't remember if you have erosion control.
It's not shown, no.
And I'm going to strike it. We have some options. If we put that in standard language, Eric and I can strike it if it's not impertinent. Applicant shall observe 310 CMR 10.05 requirements, emphasis on observe. Coordinate pre-construction site meeting with the conservation administrator or agent. Okay. During construction of proposed work, ensure best management practices and current building codes are followed. Ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open to use pervious coverage only. Hey, by the way, nice job on the cross section. Very convincing. Joe Ring and I were impressed with that. Post-construction work, ongoing conditions. We're not going to have any erosion control. Take that one out. Ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open to use pervious coverage only. This condition remains in perpetuity. You're all set, Madam Chair.
All right, so I have a second from Commissioner Karen. Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Lage,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and Craig Hannafin, yes.
Very good, Madam Hearing Officer. That's your first order of conditions, and you crushed it on the RDAs and on the order of conditions. My compliments. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Now we are on to 162 Bay Avenue, and I will read the legal notice. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom to consider the notice of intent filed by Brian Tedeschi for a raise and rebuild at 162 Bay Avenue. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Carberry.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a brand new notice of intent, a big project, raise and rebuild of a single family home. Administrator team, can you confirm taxes, abutters, and DEP number, please?
Yes, I can do that for you, Mr. Hearing Officer. Taxes paid in 429, abutters confirmed at 429. File number was issued on 5/4/21. Fees were paid on 4/20, and it was published on 4/28. You're all set.
Okay, thank you very much. So I've got a whole plan package here from Merrill, so I would assume a Merrill representative will present. Is that you, Dana?
Yes, it is.
Okay, take us through it, please.
Okay, sounds good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dana Altabello. I'm with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. I'm here along with Adam Brodsky, who was taken away for another hearing, but he should be back shortly. along with Brian Tedeschi as well for Brian's project. This project is located at number 162 Bay Avenue, which is on the easterly side of the road, approximately 400 feet from the intersection of Beach Street. The site's located within the R3 residential waterfront district, as well as the floodplain zoning overlay district. The property consists of approximately 6,995 square feet, all of which are located within wetland resource areas. This portion of Bay Avenue, as you're probably well aware, is it consists of barrier beach and coastal dune in this area. There is also FEMA flood zone, AE elevation 11, which begins in the easterly portion of the property. There is up in the front of the property a portion of the 200-foot riverfront area, which is associated with the Cut River, which is across Bay Avenue in this area. And currently, there's a single-family dwelling located on the property with a pervious paver driveway and associated site improvements associated with that property. The site is connected to both water and town sewer as well. As you had mentioned, the applicant is proposing to remove the existing structure and construct a new house in its place in a similar location. The existing structure currently sits on a solid concrete foundation with a concrete slab basement below it. The slab foundation will be removed, as well as the solid foundation walls. The proposed dwelling will then be constructed on 36 12-inch diameter wooden piles. This will result in approximately 814 square feet of reduction in impervious area on the barrier beach dune area on this property. The structure will also be pulled away from the Cut River, so as it will be approximately 7 feet further from the river itself than the existing structure currently is. Excuse me. The proposed structure will also be elevated, so it will have a finished floor at elevation 19.3. The existing structure is set currently at about 17.5. And as I mentioned, the FEMA flood elevation for this site is set at AE elevation 11. So we'll be approximately 8.3 feet above that flood elevation, which is a fairly good amount of freeboard over the 2.8 feet of freeboard required by the bylaws to address the sea level rise over the next 100 years. And just lastly, we have met with the Zoning Board of Appeals, and they have approved the project, and they did issue a decision on April 13th, 2021. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much, Dana. Mr. Grafton, do you want to share some opinions and comments from your perspective?
Sure. Dana, I've talked to you a little bit about this. Sorry it was today. First thing was the 50% filing fees on the state fees were received. Excuse me, second, one moment.
Sure.
Were received today. So thank you, Dana, for being so prompt and responding to my request today on that. That's taken care of. There is a driveway in the front that I'd like to know, Dana, if it's calculated into the impervious table or not.
We did not. Looking at the bylaw, it defined impervious area as areas that do not, let me just see what the bylaws are obviously a little bit new, so I was kind of working my way through, but it seems as though the for impervious areas, any hardened surface should be considered impervious area unless it is demonstrated the ability to absorb precipitation or runoff. These pavers that are currently existing are pervious pavers, so it seemed like it would not qualify under the impervious surface calculation. So we did not include that in there.
Okay, so I would say that there are names, marketing names, and there are actual functional names. I would say there's a possibility, Dana, that these are one of those ones that are named pervious pavers, but may not. They're extremely tight. If I was to take a sharp device and try to go in between the various blocks, I probably have a tough time getting through. Now, I could be proven wrong. I've seen joint sand, etc. work, but this looks to me like it's probably got a very solid base underneath it, and probably nobody has the cross section. So I would counter that this is probably impervious. We could test it out if we have to, or we just calculate it in and give us an estimate. It is in riverfront after all, inside the completely within the 200-foot riverfront. It is a degraded riverfront, as you said, but it needs to be calculated into the impervious, in my personal opinion. Commissioners, you can make the final determination as always. Next, I'm noting that the house pervious, the way you've shown it, is reducing down to 29 square feet based on the pilings. Do they have any plans for patios or walks, other than the driveway, of course, that would entail any kind of true pervious with cross sections in the future or now?
No, they do have the pervious paver driveway will be replaced. They'll be taking that up for some utility connections and replacing it in kind, using the same materials.
I see. Okay.
So they don't have any plans. Basically, they have that covered porch in the back and the impervious area, within the driveway itself. But that's really all that I'm aware of at this point.
Driveway only? Okay. Well then, commissioners, that's news to me, and that's a great thing. Because now we have an opportunity to get a cross section like we've seen so many times that the commission has required, and we'll get the joint sand that works and pervious pavers and the crushed stone, et cetera, underneath it's pervious. So I would suggest that the commission requires a cross section showing how that driveway is going to be pervious after all. Thank you, Dana, for that.
Sure.
What can you tell us about this accretion line that's pretty much seems to be coinciding with the true property line? Recently, we looked at the property lines, or I did, on the town GIS and also on Mass GIS. And it doesn't seem that the property lines as shown by the town and the state seem to be different from where the existing current location is. In other words, the existing house seems to be further off the property on the order of all the way out to that existing deck and porch with stairs. So what can you tell us about that accretion line and the true property line in general? I did talk to town council, and he said he would provide a legal opinion because he had something similar going on when he was working on Wrexham Terrace. Can you fill us in, Dana?
Sure. So this comes from a legal determination. It's not really a wetland issue. It's more of a legal land ownership issue. But basically, the determination came because the land is accreting. The way the deed was drawn up, it was given the additional land inside of that retaining or the existing seawall that's to the rear of the property.
Yeah.
That basically was it's area that has accreted and become part of the property over time. There was a determination by Delaney and Muncie that kind of confirms this. And it kind of goes into a little bit of detail on how they kind of trace the deeds back. But I think the other thing to consider would be the recent zoning decision that was issued by the ZBA, where they would have taken all the lot information into consideration and ruled on that with the recent approval of the
when you submitted to ZBA, did you make that crystal clear for them, or did they have to find it like I did?
We sent them the deeds, and I think they had the information that they needed with that.
All right. Well, I think we need more information on that. I think we need our own legal. So we do work concurrently with the ZBA, and anything that they've done, we benefit from. And so I've obtained that permit that he was talking about. So that's available to the commissioners. All right. Well, I think that's a moving target that could be helpful to us. Now, the coverage on this property is going to move up to 3,278 square feet. That's rather big. It far exceeds the current 843 square feet. Have I got that right, Dana? That it's the 843 existing impervious is the house with the blocks, the porch on the front and the porch on the back. Is that completely, is that 843 covering those three things, the front porch, the back porch, and the house?
I'd have to double check. It's been a little while, but I believe it was just the actual house itself.
Yeah. Okay. So then you'd have the decks as well.
Where the foundation is.
Yeah, I'm gonna give the deck, the two decks and porches, call it 500 square feet. So you're looking at 1,300 square feet of coverage, turning into 3,278 square feet of coverage. Again, it's going to get elevated up, so the impervious that affects your subsurface is minimal, but your coverage is pretty huge. It's going up more than double. You know what I mean?
Mr. Hearing Officer, could I interject here?
Yes, go ahead, Craig.
Mr. Grafton, I think we're raising the structure. That's a win.
Okay.
That's a win.
Okay, just wanted the commission to be aware of what they're facing. The other thing was, I didn't see any mitigation back here at all in any way, shape, or form. You could say that raising the house is adequate. There is some struggling beach grass back there. I did talk to the town council further about this. The fact that the house is now moving closer to the coastal beach into the buffer zone, it might trigger one of two scenarios. Potentially that's new. The town council has not seen the plans. He has not seen any of this. I talked to him on the fly.
Excuse me, Mr. Grafton, you're getting ahead of us. Okay, you have taken a lot of time to comment here. We appreciate your comments, but I think we're going into the weeds.
All right, I'll wrap it up. I'm suggesting either a variance or a mitigation permit and getting some mitigation out there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bill. Before the other commissioners jump in with comments or questions, Dana, one question I have on, am I understanding the new structure is moving 7 feet further away from the riverfront, but about 15 feet closer to the beachfront?
That's correct.
Okay.
Including the covered porch.
Okay. And the redoing of the current paver driveway is going to be done in a separate filing down the road, and it's not part of this NOI. That's correct?
No, we're hoping to include all the utility connections and site development in this NOI.
Okay. All right. Well, one of the concerns I think I have is I think it's good to move away from the river, but that's positive. It's good to move up, raise the structure, but to move 15 feet closer to the beach is not great, and is not something we typically support, unless at times there are other means that you provide to mitigate with plantings or other ways to kind of help with that. I think when you redo the driveway, that's going to be a big step forward. And if it's a brand new pervious driveway, that'll help. Draining under the house is going to help. But you're not asking for a variance to move the house forward, are you?
We're not. I guess we're looking at the back of the retaining wall. I think we're pretty close to, the entire property is barrier beach. So it's not, we're already in it. It's not necessarily that we're moving closer. You know what I mean? We didn't look at it that way. We looked at the entire, this entire area is a peninsula. It's a barrier beach and it's a dune. And not necessarily a coast, the coastal beach is kind of all the barrier beach in this instance. There's not really a difference.
I take that point. Other commissioners, comments, questions?
Yes, Rick. I was going to bring up the point that it's all barrier, so it's all it's all the same resource area. Just to clarify, the entire driveway will be taken up and either relayed or replaced. Is that what you're saying, Dana?
We were looking originally just at the utility connections, but I think Brian Tedeschi is on the call. He might be able to just confirm that the entire thing can be taken up. That's a
I
little
mean,
more than I'd like to.
then you've made that pervious.
Yep.
I would agree with Craig's previous statement, the chair, that the elevation of this whole property is a win. And I think maybe consider some plantings in the area just behind the seawall, and I think that would work.
Okay.
I would think that I lost my video.
No, you lost your video. We can still hear you. You're back.
There it is. I don't know if I hit something or I apologize. Brian, are you on the call? Is that something? I'm not sure if
Brian's
he-
on, but Brian's on, but he's muted down the bottom.
Oh,
There he is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Brian, go ahead.
I've tried before I could never get the mute button to undo. But anyways,
Okay, we can hear you.
all right. It was not my intention to pull up the whole driveway. But the reality is it's probably going to be so much of it. So I'm happy to pull all the driveway up and either reset it or with different pervious pavers. But that's not a big issue at this point. I'm assuming we're going to have to replace the existing water line, the existing sewer line. I guess just water and sewer. Anyways, and when we dig those trenches, we're gonna have to disturb enough of the pavers that to pull them all up. I don't see that being a big deal.
Yeah, no, Brian, that paver driveway today, not only is the driveway for your place, but it's also the driveway for the houses 2 and 3 down the road. Would all that get replaced or just yours?
No, I'm just talking about mine.
Okay.
So the history of that, those two people down the road, I know them. They have the same last name as myself, actually.
Okay.
It's my brother and my sister who actually just recently passed away. But we replaced the driveway back, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was originally an asphalt driveway. And we put in the pervious pavers at that time for that very reason. We were not required, but we did get permission to do that. To my knowledge, it's still, it doesn't hold water. I think it's a pervious, the way I would understand pervious pavers. But if we pull them up and reset them, and if we had to find something different, we could probably do that too. But I'm not sure that's answering your question.
Okay. No, I guess it is. If you're
I
gonna,
originally wanted to keep the foundation and just, the house really needs to be redone. It was a matter of either doing a remodel or a rebuild. And in talking to Dana, I mean, he said that, it would be a hard case, but you could maybe make the case to doing a remodel and keeping the concrete, basement, the foundation and floor. But it would go a long way, Dana felt, and I agree with him, that if we just started right from the get-go and decide to raise it up and put it on piles. And we're losing all that space, in that basement now, so that's why the house grew a little bit more.
okay.
Mr. Hearing Officer, could I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead, Craig.
Regarding the pervious pavers, whether they are or not in the driveway? Clearly, when they begin this project, it will be easy to tell if what is there is in fact pervious. And if it is, then it can just be reset the way it is.
Right. Well, I don't know how we determine that it might not be pervious. I guess Bill.
I think sometimes the substrate, it becomes, depending on the substrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Make them up, you'll know.
Yeah.
That's cool. You can pour water on it too and see what happens. That also works. I've seen it done professionally.
Brian and Dana, what's your position on potentially accommodating some plants up front of the house toward the seawall, as Bert had suggested? Is that something you folks would consider doing?
I was not looking to do that. Frankly, it's more for my grandkids' benefit. Putting planting out there, that whether it's Rosa rugosa or seagrass or whatever, you know, that stuff isn't friendly to young kids running around on the beach. It's basically a beach up behind the house, right to the seawall. It's just all beach sand. And I don't see, I mean, there's no erosion happening there. There's water has never come over that seawall. I mean, I'm not sure what the purpose of this would be, but so I would prefer to leave it as beach, frankly.
Okay.
Mr. Hearing Officer, we're getting a raised house and the foundation's going to be removed. And we're going to have a pervious drive one way or another.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're just exploring all the surfaces of all this as we go along. I think that one of the last issues is this limit of accretion line. I'm not sure I totally understand the legal implications of that.
I'll take a stab at it. And back several years ago, first of all, the Conservation Commission and the ZBA have been through this on this lot and the adjacent lot in the past. Okay.
Okay.
Back, and I don't have the data, but several years ago, Kathy Muncie, I don't know if you know her, but she does title work. Her office is down in Plymouth, and went through the whole process and has a whole brief, and we can send that to the commission if that's what you're looking for. I'm not sure how it enters into the wetlands issue or the conservation issue, but in any event, how accretion happens, I think you know, but I don't want to take anything for granted. It's as river or ocean or whatever slowly moves. That was once the property line moves with that. The big case here was the Burke's Beach case. Was settled by the land court back in the, I don't know, 50 years ago.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. I'm familiar with that one. I think this is more of a legal question than conservation.
Right. I agree, but it is very interesting, and there have been other houses, property line there. In effect, all those people own out to the high water mark.
So do we feel like this needs to be resolved, or do we need additional information before we potentially vote on this project?
I'm not sure what it has. Well, I'll be quiet.
Well, but I mean, Bill had raised it as an issue that needed to be resolved, and we're waiting to hear back from town council on that. So I want to just make sure it's not an issue if we move forward, and if we're going to vote, to make sure all the commissioners feel like they have all the information at this point.
Yeah, right. Clear and convincing information. It's not like it's impossible.
Mr. Hearing Officer, perhaps you could take a poll of the commission to see how people feel about whether they feel they have enough information to vote.
I think that's a good suggestion. So why don't we go around the Zoom and see how people feel? I mean, do you fellow commissioners feel like you have enough information to put forth a vote at this point? Art?
Oh, I would like to know a clarification on Bill's position here. It doesn't seem like it, right? Seems like there's some open issues here.
Just to help a little bit, I'm picking up on what Mr. Tedeschi said, and I was looking at our inventory of conservation permits, and there's one from 97. I can look at it while you're doing this, but I don't know what it shows right now for property lines. What we saw on the aerials was not known to ZBA, from what I could say there. They thought it was further down, so there may be some discrepancies. I just think for assurance, one more hearing, find out from Bob. Sorry, that's my take on it.
Bert, do you feel comfortable, or should we wait for town council?
I'm satisfied we've got enough information, and as far as the plantings, I was more concerned that it was going to turn into a manicured lawn out there. If it stays intact as beach, that's what it was. That's what it is. I'm okay with that.
Okay. Joe, how are you feeling about enough information to vote?
I'm on the line. I'd like to know the answer to the accretion question. But I think raising the house and all is a win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm definitely on the line.
Okay. Susan, how are you feeling?
Well, I agree that raising the house is a win. As far as the accretion issue, I mean, if Bob Galvin is already engaged, it would make sense to wait. But I'm actually not sure because I don't know how this affects what we're ruling on, to be honest.
I
So
mean,
that's
is the issue whether or not the house is on the property that they own? Is that the issue?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to, that's my understanding of it. That's what accretion, that the property lines change, but I'm sure there's precedent for this. So do we need to know that?
Yeah. Well, I think the way I'm feeling about it, I kind of like Galvin to finish his analysis and get back to us with a recommendation. So it's not a loose end. We don't make an error here.
Right. Then that is my vote. I do agree with you.
Okay.
Could I
Attorney
just add
Brusky,
something,
do you want to say something, Adam?
Oh, good evening, everyone. I apologize for being late. I was in.
You were out checking the accretion line, I know.
So I get a sense of what the issue is. So, I mean, it's a fairly straightforward property right issue. It's a little bit unclear to me how it necessarily relates to your jurisdiction.
Right.
But there was a determination and opinion made with respect to title of the property. And as Dana's probably explained to you, under the doctrine of accretion, the property line, moves with the accreted land. So when land accretes on the coast, you benefit from it, and so you have title to it, and there's clear case law. And in fact, there's actually a specific case dealing with this section of Marshfield. I think it's the
Wrexham Terrace.
I'm sorry?
Wrexham Terrace, I think.
Oh, Burke.
The Burke case.
Okay, right.
That's correct. And conversely, if you had erosion, you suffer the consequence of that with the high water line. So again, I think Dana was being thorough by just identifying it as an area of accretion. But we've presented you with a plan that delineates the property bounds for which I would suggest you're bound to accept, since it's a stamped site plan. And so issues of title are simply not, issues for any of the regulatory boards in town.
Mr. Hearing Officer, it's refreshing to have the legal opinion coming in like that, and Dana's engineering. I was looking at the last plan and it doesn't have the line, so somehow it got fixed, and it would be good to know where it is. The reason this is an issue is we have two sets of aerials, the town GIS and Mass GIS, that show the property line is pretty much almost, it's darn close to what Dana is showing here is the accretion line. And I just think that, I don't understand this personally. So it's a property right thing. And we're not allowed to have somebody work on somebody else's property unless it's enforcement. And, we've done this before and said that you don't do that. So it'd be nice to have that cleared up, but absolutely commission wanting more information. You have everything you need, I think.
Mr. Hearing Officer, could I just say that I do not think this is jurisdictional for us, the accretion issue?
But do we know that definitively? I mean, we all seem to be somewhat uneasy about this. I think there's broad support across the commission based on the polling for the project. Beneficial with the house going up, permeable pavers, a rebuilt house. I think that's all positive in our jurisdictional areas. But
so, is there a way we could move forward pending comments from town council?
What? Put something in special conditions?
Well, if I can suggest, Mr. Chair, and by the way, it's a 1933 SJC case, Burke versus Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 283 Massachusetts 63, which dealt with accretion on Green Harbor Beach caused by the building of the jetty in 1898. And this is one of the properties that benefited by the construction of the jetty, and it's shown on various plans recorded at the registry. If I can suggest, you could certainly, we can't do any work unless we have the legal right to do it.
Right.
You have a standard, you have a general condition in your orders that, you know, we need the permission to do that. I'm very confident, based upon the information that was provided to me by the client's title attorney, that we're clearly have title over this area. If we didn't have title, we would be operating at risk. But again, we presented you with a survey plan that shows the bounds of the property as determined by our licensed surveyor as well as our title attorney.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Adam. Bill, when do you think we can get a response from town council on this?
I wish I'd started earlier. It might have been 48 hours. So I think
would recommend that we move forward and approve this pending town council's remarks.
Can we do that?
I don't know. You know, I'm trying to figure out some language from the past. Madam Chair.
I'm assuming that we will approve it. I do not know that. I do not know what everyone's stance is, but I would rather not hang this up on a legal issue that
is non-jurisdictional.
Correct.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of, Mr. Hearing Officer, is we had that revetment wall down at Cove Street where it looked like, you know, some work may or may not have been done on an unknown property. So I don't
think we want to reference other properties here. We don't have precedence, Mr. Grafton.
Why don't we vote on the project as we've heard, and in special conditions come up with some language that kind of captures, to be sure that there are comments that validate the fact that you know, it's appropriate to do a building on this property with this accretion line this legal situation. I think that would be the wise thing to do. And then if it's just a letter from town council and it becomes part of the file, we can vote on the project and perhaps it moves forward.
Mr. Chair, if I might suggest if a condition that says something to the fact that if town council determines that there's a question regarding title, that we will return to the Conservation Commission and seek an appropriate relief, including perhaps an amendment of the order.
Yeah, that might work, Adam, because I'm not comfortable with any of this right now. I do trust you, but I think it would be better to wait. But if the commission has to charge forward and close it, then close it. And you have discretionary authority to do something like this. You've got quasi judicial capacity.
I mean, Bill, can you capture the?
No, I'm not even going to try to be legal. That's not what we do here in our department. I tried to bring up an old order that Bob had sent something, but to the chair's point, the moment I spoke about, I realized I'm not a lawyer. I can't do that. So.
Exactly. We are not lawyers and we don't deal in legal issues. So I would suggest we approve this with some condition regarding town council, which, you know, may or may not even be necessary, but if there is a level of discomfort without it, then yes.
Let's just add pending town council validation. That's all. Something very simple like that.
Okay, so, Mr. Hearing Officer, you're saying add a DO condition.
Yeah.
This approval is pending town council.
Town council validation.
Validation. Adam, what do you think? Adam?
Excuse me. No, thank you very much. I mean, I put it a little bit differently, which is that if my suggestion was that if town council, you know, doesn't have a problem, we're good to go. If town council has a problem, we need to come back. obviously the client's not going to invest the money in this project if there's any
Right.
question regarding this issue. So my suggestion was just in the event that town council determines that there's a question regarding title, that the applicants will voluntarily return to the Conservation Commission to address the outstanding issue.
That's fine. Yeah, no, it's just a shame we've been twisted around the axle on a conservation issue. And, you know, we just want to make sure we don't misstep here. So I think at this point, I'll make a motion to close the hearing with special conditions that we'll have Bill read after I get a second.
Second, Bert O'Donnell.
Okay, a second for Bert O'Donnell. So Bill, can you go through the regular special conditions and paraphrase that last one about the line,
Yeah, if you don't mind much, Mr. Hearing Officer, I'd like to go back. I caught most of what Adam said and what you said. In the event that town council identifies an issue with the approved OOC, the applicant will file an amended OOC, request for amended OOC. Roughly that, Adam?
Yeah, a concern regarding the title, Bill, not the order of conditions. That's the issue we're talking about. If there's any concern regarding title to the property.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Then hearing with a roll call vote. Art? Commissioner Art?
Yes.
Vice Chair Burt?
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Joe?
Yes.
Commissioner Susan?
And Karen, yes.
Madam Chair, Craig?
Greg Hannafin, yes.
And Rick Carver is a yes. So we're a 6-0-0. Concom tripped up by legal issues.
Well, thank you. Congratulations, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you very much. Congratulations.
I missed that part of the meeting.
Thank you very much.
I mean, Craig, I wasn't quite sure in this day and age exactly what to call the new chairman, who's a woman.
Yeah, maybe just chair works.
Well, I tried Madam Chairman, and that doesn't seem to work either. But I'm trying.
It does seem a little bit dated and sexist, to be quite honest. So I prefer chair.
I think we'll go. I think chair is a good suggestion. So it will be chair from here on.
Chair, exactly.
Do I have a second? No, I'm kidding. Okay.
Thank you very much. And sorry to be late.
That's okay, Adam. We're always good. Always glad.
Thank you very much. Yeah, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now we are moving on to our final NOI. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom to consider the notice of intent filed by Mindy and Brian O'Donnell at 32 Surf Avenue. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Ring.
Thank you. Bill, I want to confirm that I believe I did see the documentation that the taxes have been paid and the abutter has been notified. And I see that we have a DEP file number.
Yeah, give me 1 second there, Mr. Hearing Officer. The answer,
in respect for time, I'm going to continue and go back to Bill.
I got it. I got it right now. Your
Didn't even
tax.
get away.
What's that?
I didn't even get started.
I know. I'll try. Tag team it. 427 taxes paid. 427 of butters confirmed. 429 file as number was issued from DEP. 420 fees paid, and then published 428 in the Mariner.
Thank you. This is a project in the land subject to coastal flowage for an AE9 flood zone. and it is in the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. And I believe that we have Rick Servant here from Steinbeck and Taylor. Rick, you wanna
That
give
is
us a summary?
correct, Chairman Ring. Rick Savant with
Commissioner
Steinbeck and Taylor. I'm presenting this for the O'Donnells. This is a single-family home located at the corner of Surf Ave and Olympia Road. What we're proposing to do is raise and rebuild, demolish the existing home that's there, excuse me, and construct a new home that will be elevated on concrete walls. This project is located within 100 feet of the BVW that is located across Surf Ave on the westerly side of Surf Ave, which is delineated by Pine Brook Consulting. And as you stated, we are also in an AE flood zone, elevation 9. The proposed structure, as I said, is proposed on poured concrete walls. It has flood vents, adequate number of flood vents shown to comply with the flood regulations. It is elevated, the finished floor of the building will be elevated to an elevation of 15.1, which exceeds the 2.8 feet in the regulations. We are outside the 50-foot buffer zone slightly. As you can see on the front of the property, where the new home is just outside the 50. It's actually a little bit further away from the BVW than the existing home. As you can see on the coverage table, it is a larger home. We are increasing the impervious area by 558 square feet, which that includes the footprint of the home. All the decks and steps that are shown there are included in that coverage table. We have a pervious paver driveway shown on the left side of the home. Also included this cross section that we used on the last project, which you'll be seeing more of as we go forward here, to show the construction of the pavers to ensure that it is pervious. That's generally what we're hoping to do. I'll open the floor to any questions you might have and do my best to answer those.
Rick, I have to say I was pretty impressed with the proposal that came in. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Bill, do you have any comments that you'd like to make on this?
No, I visited with you, Joe. You know that the wetland line looked fine. It's a degraded wetland across the street. The closest part of the property is the existing closest part. Once it gets proposed, it falls back several feet. There's a couple 100 square feet that will push closer to the wetlands, but never closer than the existing structure. There are a couple willows in the back 40. Might be worth saving. They don't seem like they're going to interfere with the project. And I don't see any language about other pathways or walks, etc. Rick, you did a really nice job on this cross section. Your site plans are looking fantastic. And, it's adding about 500 square feet of impervious. So I think the project's a go. He's also building it to meet not only the AE 9+1, he's also meeting the 2.8 that's built in to the revised 505s. He's building at 15.1. So he's killed both of them. So that's great. Thank you very much. And it's on a concrete foundation. It's fine in this area.
So the only thing I had on this was the question about the walks and patios, because we didn't see any on the plan. Rick, do you have any idea what they're going to do with that?
My understanding is what I have shown here is what is proposed. I know of no ground level patios that are going to be on the ground, just natural or grass areas, other than the driveway, which we went over. There is a deck at the rear of the house, as you can see, but because of the elevation of the building, that's going to be up off the ground. I don't believe there is anything proposed on there. If there is anything in the future, they're going to have to come forward and get something like that approved.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions, discussions?
No.
I don't see anybody looking like they have a question or discussion. I'm going to ask.
Sorry, Joe. I think it looks good too. Rick, do you have the contour lines on here? I'm having trouble seeing the plan.
Yes, they are there, Bert. It is very flat site, but
Okay,
there are
that's what I thought.
at
So
least
that's
two.
great.
There's a 6 contour on the Surf Ave frontage of the property that goes through the proposed paver driveway. There's a 6 contour, kind of a circular shape. And there's a 7 contour behind the house, which runs parallel and about, roughly 2 to 3 feet off of the house is a 7 contour, but it's pretty
Yeah, no,
flat.
that's good, just as long as it's there, because the new building codes, they call for that, I think.
That is correct.
Got both, that spot elevation and contours, Bert.
I do have a question before we close up, if I could. Could I just get a little clarification moving forward on other projects about the 2.8 feet of sea level rise and how we're supposed to incorporate that in? Are we really going to go 2.8 feet higher than the base flood elevations and for all these projects? This one worked out because of the way the structure is, but on others, say wood piles or something, we're really going to be going 3 feet higher than the base flood, plus the foot that's already required by FEMA above the base flood, and then another 2.8 feet. I'm just curious how to deal with it.
Just clarity on that. He's saying the 1 foot at AE, it would be 2 foot on VE, and then it would be a 1.8 more because, you're basically building
Okay.
it 0.8. That's what I interpreted it as, but I don't really know what the commission's going to do with it.
So to be discussed, continued discussion.
Yeah, I didn't mean to drag it out. I know it's been a long night, but I have to
So-
ask the question. So thank
Is there
you.
any public comment, discussion on this project? Hearing none, I propose that we close this hearing and issue orders of conditions with special conditions that I will ask Bill to summarize for us, because I think they're all standard, straightforward orders.
Yeah, I think everybody knows a lot of these now. There's nothing in here that's earth shattering. Rick, I forget. I don't see erosion control in here. Did you have it or not? No, you don't. I'm going to strike that so that we don't put you through that pain. And take this one out here. Register all set as both sets of deeds to Plymouth County Registry of Deeds. Post to the Mass DEP sign, follow pertinent bylaws, obtain all subsequent permits. Applicant shall observe 310 CMR 10.05 requirements, that no work shall commence until all applicable administrative appeal periods have elapsed. Coordinate pre-construction site meeting with the conservation administrator. And then we got a new one per 780 CMR section 10.58. The applicant shall notify the building official at least one business day before the start of the work to verify all D1 conditions have been met prior to the commencement of work. During the construction, ensure best management practices, NFIP, I can catch that one. NFIP, FEMA, firm, and current building codes are followed. Ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open or use pervious coverage only. Post-construction, ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open or use pervious coverage only, and the condition remains in perpetuity. There you go.
Does that motion have a second?
Arlagi, second.
Thank you, Art. With you, I'm going to see what I can do to get a quick vote. Art, how do you vote?
Arlagi, yes.
Rick,
Rick Carver, yes.
Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Bert,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig,
Greg Hannafin, yes.
and Joe Ring also votes yes. So that means we have a 6-0-0. The motion carries.
Rick,
Thank you all.
Joe, who was your second?
Me.
Art.
Okay. Got it.
All right. Thank you very much. I hope everyone has a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice job, Rick.
Thanks again, Joe.
Yep.
Okay, we have one request for certificate of compliance, which is an extension.
Madam Hearing Officer, Chair, we have Brewster Road a withdrawal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Brewster Road. SE 422887. A written. Oh, that's road improvements. I'm sorry. Okay, I have it.
13 Brewster, Craig.
Yeah, 13. Thank you. On May 3rd, 2021, Conservation received a request to withdraw SE 422917. I suggest we vote to approve the withdrawal and the preparation and submittal of the withdrawal letter to the applicant, CCing Mass DEP, Town Council, and the Conservation Chair. May I have a second?
Second, Bert O'Donnell.
Got it.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Lage,
Art Lagi, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hanafin, yes.
Okay, we'll get that done.
Sorry, I missed that. Okay.
These next ones are all done already, Madam Chair.
Yes, I finished those earlier.
Yeah. What do you want to be called, Chair? Is that what you said? Is
I guess Chair, yeah.
that off official?
So we have one extension on a COC, which is SE 422710 at 7 Branch Street. Do you have anything to say on this, Bill or Eric?
No.
Just read it in. The applicant has requested a 3-year extension for orders of conditions issued in July 2018 for an addition and a deck. The orders are currently set to expire on July 19th, 2021. Administrator Grafton and Agent Flint had a conversation with the Browns on 4/2021 to discuss the extension. The Browns confirmed they were aware their flood zone had changed from AE 16 to AE 12, but that their plans had not changed from those initially approved. So I move that we vote to ratify an extension for the orders of conditions to a date not to exceed 3 years, 7/19/2024. Could I have a second, please?
Second, Joe Ring.
Thank you. Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Lage,
Art Lagi, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and Craig Hanafin, yes.
Okay.
All right. It is 9:02. I move that we adjourn. Could I have a second?
Second, Rick Carver.
Okay.
Who is it?
Rick.
Rick. All right.
Joe,
Joe Ring, yes.
Rick,
Rick Carver, yes.
Art,
Art Lagi, yes.
Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Bert,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and Craig, yes.
Night, everyone.
Congratulations, Chair. You
Nice job, Craig. You're settling right in.
Craig.
got your first,
No place to go but up.
first hearing in the
Very good.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right, good night.